The Detroit Red Wings are giving us things to talk about. Earlier yesterday, Steve Yzerman and the like made a very nice signing, a very nice addition to their roster, if I do say so myself. However, the player that they signed isn't somebody who is actually new. Rather, it's a guy that they've had in their system for a while, but just only recently decided to sign him yesterday. Let's talk today about Albert Johansson, a 19-year-old SHL defender who the Red Wings were able to pick up in the 2019 NHL Draft. Now, just getting into the statistical profile of Johansson, he is a 19-year-old, 6 feet tall, 168-pound left-handed D-man playing for the Färjestad BK in the Swedish Hockey League. You heard that right, he's 19 years old, and he's playing in the SHL. Now, when the Red Wings drafted Johansson all the way back in the 2019 draft, they snagged him up at the very end of the second round, 60th overall. If you can do your math, the first round is 1 to 31, the second round is 32 to 62, so does that work? 32 to 62? Yeah, I think that is how it works. That should be how it works, but Johansson was a guy that the Red Wings selected at the very end of that draft with the 60th overall pick. And it's actually kind of interesting because he's a guy who, if you take a look at the projections, he wasn't really supposed to go that late at all. Future considerations had Johansson at 46, HockeyProspect.com at 49, McKean's had him as a first-round talent at number 26, TSN and Bob McKenzie at 72, and NHL Central Scouting had him as the 37th best-ranked European guy, so that's not great. But the variance in Albert Johansson's draft stock and projection led the Red Wings to being able to snag this guy up at the end of round 2. He signed a contract yesterday, and now we have something to look forward to. So, what's his profile like on the ice? Well, he is a Swedish defender who has played his entire career in Sweden. Back when he was drafted in 2019, he was wrapping up a year with the Super Elite. That is the league for U20 players. It's like the CHL over there in Sweden. And as a D-man for the Färjestad Junior 20 team, he had 29 points in 40 games played. Not a lot of goals, but a lot of assists, and that's a pattern that you're going to be seeing as we watch Albert Johansson develop over the years. He's a guy who made his bread and butter by assisting and doing really nice things with the puck to allow his team to create offense. He was so nice and well refined that they allowed him to play 3 games at the SHL level just as a 17 turning 18-year-old. However, his year after being drafted saw him spend the majority of his time with the full-time SHL club, where he got 13 points in 42 games played. Now, that's a really good number, and I think a lot of people who look at that number immediately will think, okay, 13 points in 42 games, that's really not a high points per game. What do you mean that's a good number, Lego? Well, this guy is 19, and he's a D-man playing in the top pro league in Sweden. This is the best of the best. If this guy was playing with the other U20-year-olds, he probably would have had a lot more points. Look at his points per game playing with the Färjestad Junior 20 team this season, 5 points in 9 games played. Obviously, he had a better points per game last year in that league, but still, being good enough to play in the SHL means you're good enough to be above the Junior 20 level. But it's actually very interesting because if you take a look at the other guys who ended up scoring points at the U20 level in the SHL, you'll find that Albert Johansson was actually third. The only 2 U20 junior defensemen in that league that were better than him were Victor Soderstrom, who got 3 more points in fewer games, but who was a first-round pick, Nils Lundqvist, who is a guy who was drafted back in 2018, and that's it. Albert Johansson had a better points percentage than Phillip Broberg, and Broberg was a top prospect of the 2019 draft. These guys were drafted in the same year, and now Johansson's a guy who has more points than the 8th overall pick in the same draft. Now, it should be noted that Broberg is a guy who is mostly known as an offensive guy who can produce points, but a lot of that is contingent on how good he is able to control and manage his own positioning. So there are flaws to Broberg's game, but the upside is incredible. Albert Johansson, on the other hand, is a guy who doesn't have those uncertainties, and that's not to say that he's better than Broberg, it's just to say that he's a different kind of player when compared to Broberg. Albert Johansson, if we take a look at the scouting reports, let's go over onto draftsite.com and read what they have to say about him. He is a second-generation push defender who loves penetrating the attack zone and playing down in the attack zone. A good athlete with very good foot speed, soft hands, and an excellent hard wrister. Continues to improve his gap control and is able to use his strength in the defensive end. Taking a look at the scouting reports on elite prospects, he sees the ice well, has a high panic threshold, and can adjust his style of play to what is needed. He's a very good skater with fluid strides. He has quick first steps and is adept at handling the puck as he accelerates to top speed. The final one says he has a hard shot from the blue line and is not afraid to shoot the puck. Now, that last one is a little bit kind of ignoring the rest of his skill set, but for the most part, most of these scouting reports do kind of go over the same kinds of things. Albert Johansson is a very interesting player. If I were to describe it, I would say that he's more of a hybrid, two-way D-man who moves really well and who loves opening up offense for his team. We noted his playmaking ability and his ability to rack up assists, and a lot of that has to do with his strong passing ability and team instincts. He's a guy who's always looking for his teammates whenever he has the puck, and whenever he has the puck, he's usually moving around with it. He's got some really good skating, and it's fluid. So much to the point that he can pretty much just go around whoever he wants. Sure, sometimes he gets into positions where he is forced to make a play or he's forced to eventually send a suicide pass, but he's a guy who is able to make the correct judgment to pull that off the majority of the time. Many times in the defensive zone, I would see Albert Johansson carry the puck, hold onto it for a little bit too long, and draw the rest of the opponents in towards him. But then at the last second, he sends it over to a guy who is open because he drew the opponents towards him, and all of a sudden you think, wow, he planned to do that. That's a very smart play. He's a guy who, honestly, if he makes the NHL one day, his biggest skills are going to be his puck movement and the overall stability he provides. A few of these scouting reports also mentioned it, but his gap control is really good as well. He's a guy who doesn't lay down, and he's not afraid to block shots either. He's just an overall really solid two-way D-man, and there's a reason why as the SHL season progressed, he was used a little bit more and more, even though he was only 18, turning 19 years old. So if that is not enough to convince you that this is a pretty good pickup for a guy at the end of the second round, then I don't know what would be. Now, this video kind of feels like a 1 year later or a... No, it wouldn't be 1 year later, right? Would it be? Actually, yeah, it would be, because 2019 prospects, yes. It kind of feels like that, but at the same time, it's more of a video talking about the potential that we see in him because he got signed. But now that he is signed, one may ask, okay, where does he go from here? He does not need to come over to Grand Rapids or whatever if he doesn't want to. If the Red Wings feel like another year in the SHL would do him due diligence and provide him the opportunity to really form himself as a solidified number 3, number 4 D-man at that level, then hey, we might see that. We may not see Albert Johansson on North American ice until 2021, and that's okay. But at the same time, there still is a lot of room for growth with this player. He's 19 years old, everybody, and he's still a pro athlete. So the only way to go here is up. I don't really see this kind of player really plateauing in his early stages of development, because there's so much to learn with the more experience you gain in pro hockey that I think we could be underestimating that if anybody is saying that he needs to be rushed to the AHL right away. But another year in the SHL won't hurt him. We'll see what he does in about a year's time from now. But I'm just really happy to note that one of the more interesting and seemingly more good Red Wings prospects has just signed a contract and has locked himself up in the organization. Seriously, some people are saying that this guy could be one of the best steal Red Wings picks from that 2019 draft, and they have so many other picks to choose from to give that label to. So, what do you think about Albert Johansson? What do you think about the signing? Let me know in the comments section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. So that's 99, and bye.